Once upon a time, in a city where luxury and exclusivity were everything, there stood a restaurant known for its elegance, pristine service, and high-end clientele. Its owner, a man named Harold Thompson, had built his reputation on strict standards, or so he believed. He saw himself as a guardian of class, someone who could determine who belonged in his world and who didn't. One evening, Marcus and Olivia Daniels, a well-dressed black couple, arrived at the restaurant to celebrate their 10th wedding anniversary. They had heard about this place for years, read glowing reviews, and even seen it featured in upscale magazines. To them, dining here was more than just a meal. It was a reward for their hard work and success. But the moment they stepped through the doors, they felt something off. The owner, Harold, greeted them with a polite smile, but his eyes told a different story. He hesitated before seating them, choosing a table near the kitchen, far from the main dining area, far from the ambiance everyone else enjoyed. They said nothing. As the night wore on, Harold couldn't shake the feeling that these two didn't belong. He instructed staff to delay their food, watch them carefully, and eventually approach their table under the guise of checking in. His words dripped with subtle disdain, thinly veiled behind polished phrases. He questioned their reservation, hinted they weren't part of the usual crowd, and finally asked them to leave. Marcus and Olivia stood up calmly, gathered their belongings, and walked out, not with anger, but with quiet dignity. As they left, Marcus turned back and said only, "Thank you for your time. People always show you who they really are." And that's exactly what happened next. Unknown to Harold, Marcus and Olivia were not just any couple. They were successful entrepreneurs, investors in the hospitality industry, and had been considering buying his restaurant chain for some time. That night hadn't just been an anniversary dinner, it had been a test. A few days later, Harold received a letter from a prestigious law firm offering him a generous sum for his business. Eager and excited, he arranged a meeting, expecting to negotiate with a wealthy white investor. Instead, he found himself face to face with Marcus and Olivia. The shock hit him like a punch to the gut. Not only were they willing to pay above market value, but they came with conditions. One that would strip him of control completely. He would sell everything, step away entirely, and never open another similar establishment again. He had no choice. If he refused, they would expose his actions. And in today's world, stories like that spread fast. Reluctantly, Harold signed the papers. Within weeks, the restaurant changed hands. Under Marcus and Olivia's leadership, it flourished. The once exclusive space became a beacon of inclusivity, warmth, and modern elegance. People from all walks of life came to dine, and the restaurant thrived in ways it never had before. Harold, meanwhile, faded into obscurity. Invitations stopped coming. Friends disappeared. His name became synonymous with arrogance and prejudice. The money he received from the sale wasn't enough to fill the void. He lived alone, watching from afar as the restaurant he once called his pride and joy succeeded without him. Years passed. One day, Harold decided to visit the restaurant one last time. He called to make a reservation under his name. There was a pause. "I'm sorry," the voice on the other end said politely. "We don't have a reservation under that name." He tried to explain who he was. The voice cut him off gently. "Perhaps you could try another date." He hung up the phone, heart heavy. That was the final blow. The restaurant had moved on. So had the world. And Harold was left with nothing but silence, regret, and the cold truth that pride and prejudice had cost him everything. Moral: true success isn't measured by wealth or power, but by how we treat others. In the end, kindness and respect always win. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know where you're watching from today.